there's different religions, there's different politics, there's different languages, there's so much differences in our world. And to me, what bothers me is I think we've gotten too focused on those differences of, oh, this is how we're different, this is what divides us, and quick to judge, whatever it might be. Versus for me, and just how I think that's what makes us beautiful. Like if we're all the same, it's kind of boring, you know? Rather, I want to create a space where regardless of these differences, how can we find common ground and connect on the things that make us all human? We all laugh in the same language. We all cry in the same language. We all really kind of want the same things. You know, we need to be part of the community. We want purpose and meaning. We want health, right? We want to provide for our families. So to me, that community is coming together and saying, where can we focus and how can we lovingly agree to disagree? We don't have to believe the same things to still have love for one another and to act in love.
Welcome to the Outgrowing Podcast, where life is messy, but we always find meaning in it. Every week, we pull out the stories, the lessons, and the hidden gems. And then we ask the big question, keep it or kick it? If you're ready for real talk, brave steps forward. I'm your host, Lisa Begley, and you're listening to the Outgrowing Podcast. Let's jump right in. Okay, let me start with a question for you listeners. Have you ever built a life that looks meaningful on the outside, but you're quietly wondering if it still fits who you're becoming? Well, if so, let's ask this. How do you know when it's time to pivot? Not because something's broken, but because you've outgrown it. Hello, and welcome to the Outgrowing Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. This is a space where we talk about the moments that sort of quietly change us, right? The chapters we outgrow and the courage it takes to choose what fits now. I'm your host, Lisa Begley, and today's conversation is one I've been really looking forward to. She's a good friend of mine. My guest is McKensie Stanton, founder of World Changers, leadership and transformation coach, public speaker, wellness advocate, and the host of the Nomad CEO Podcast. But what intrigued me most about McKensie isn't the titles, right? And I know her beyond that. It's the way she integrates health, leadership, purpose, and impact into one evolving identity and gives herself permission to change as she grows. This isn't a highlight reel conversation, you guys. It's a real one. McKensie, yay, welcome. So glad you're here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I adore you. And
it's my pleasure.
You are a light to the world. Just so you know.
Thank you for saying that.
No question, a just beautiful inside and out. You are a world changer. And it's amazing to see you have this platform to be able to highlight people's stories. And I'm so honored. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
That is very kind words. I didn't expect, but thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kens, let's start, if we could. I kind of like to go back to the beginning, right? Because we didn't get here without this whole process, right? So, before World Changers, who were you before the leadership roles, global travel? I see you all over the world, and now your podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So much of it, right, of where we are later in our life, I think stems from especially entrepreneurs, right? People that are creating and doing their best to add value to the world and make a difference. I think a lot of stories I've heard and I relate to is it starts typically when we're younger, right? There's these little, I call them God winks, right? Saying this moment, remember this, right? Slow down, embrace it, soak it in. And for me, I to where I am now, I look back at one of the most significant moments in my life. I was actually in junior high and I'm in Boise, Idaho, and we were in an auditorium, our auditorium at the school, and we were all watching a documentary together, which looking back kind of blows my mind that they shared this in junior high, but I don't know, maybe it's age appropriate or not, but I'm so glad that I saw it at that age. But it was a documentary called Child Soldiers. And it was, from what I remember, it was these guys that went to Africa and saw these children that were younger than me at the time. And they had videos of them having guns and being on these trucks and going to war and fighting and killing people, like just blow your mind kind of stuff, and talking about how they would be abducted from their families and recruited and, they'd have this sense of belonging doing these, terrible things, and their children, they just didn't know any differently. And oh my gosh, Lisa, when I say I was so mind blown that existed in the world.
Yeah.
I remember leaving school that day, standing out front of South Junior High in Boise, Idaho. And I think of those moments in the movies where, where it's like the person standing there and then the world's spinning around them and they're just like having this like crisis in their brain or this realization, right? And everything else is fast, but they're still. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Because people are getting on the bus and I was like, looking back, I feel like God was speaking to me of like, this is part of the purpose in which I made you. And fast forward through the years, actually also in junior high was the first time I traveled. So I got a letter to travel overseas with an organization called People to People. Bless my mother. She raised all this money for me to go. And at 14, I went to Australia. And that planted the seed of, holy smokers, I'm on the other side of the world and my family's back home. This is cool.
Yeah.
I was with a bunch of students. And my teacher was a leader of the group. And so, a couple of those experiences were like, oh man, I want to see the world. It was an itch that started and I've never fully scratched it. I hope I never do, quite honestly. And yeah, I know I can segue into how that documentary is so much so, full circle in my life.
Impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So early on then, back kind of in that time frame and having visited Australia and just getting those experiences early on, what version of you were you trying, do you remember back, like what version of you were you trying to become early on? Was there something specific or you just were evolving?
Yeah, good question. That's a really good question because I don't think I've ever thought about it in this way, but you asking this just like epiphany for me.
Yeah.
I've like battled, and this is not uncommon. I know I'm not the only one that battles this, but kind of the undertone of my life until my late 20s was just like chronic insecurity, just totally self-conscious and of my body image and how I looked and how I interacted with people and my worth, my value. Like that has been the root of so much of the mayhem I caused myself, right? It's just a poor self-image. But to answer your question, and again, this is the first time it clicked for me, so thank you. When I was in Australia, it's like that fell away. I could be fully present. I was fully alive. There was probably 35 or 40 students, and I won an award out of all of them. I was a female winner of this like ambassador of the trip or whatever the title was.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. I was like, wait, what? But I was always like, my coaches would always pull me aside and be like, I see you as a leader. I'd be the captain of the team. Like that was but I never saw myself that way. It was just looking back, it was kind of the narrative, right, of what I would hear. And so, again, this is kind of mind blowing. So thank you. Yeah, I felt fully alive where I didn't feel like I had to be anyone else. I could just be. I could
Love that.
And I think, Lisa, part of what I've learned about leadership and transformation is I was so self-conscious at home of what do people think of me, that on that trip I was so like sparked with curiosity of the world and other people that I was living in the mindset of I want to know them. And took my eyes off myself to be like, ooh, who are these Aborigines that are here in Australia and the locals and like my fellow, junior hires on this trip, right? Who are you? Like, oh, let's experience this. And it just shifted that perspective. And I felt it wasn't about me, right? So
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge impact to your experience, I love that. And that I think you kind of phrased it so well, like to shift your mindset from looking at yourself and worrying about what other people think and constantly being involved in that, kind of role playing in your own mind to shift it to others. And that, I hear this all the time, that if you really want to be successful at something, anything, you gotta genuinely, authentically be doing it for somebody else. To help somebody else, if you're really in it for yourself and the money and all of that, that will eventually come back to bite you, So you had that early on and you're so blessed because many people don't get that experience until later or don't figure it out, me included, right? So as you rolled forward we always talk about sock drawer moments and those quiet sort of realizations. I feel like that was one for you. Things that don't fit anymore. Was that your first kind of real sock drawer moment personally or professionally, or do you have something else that really also helped you pivot?
Yeah, it was definitely a pivotal moment, no doubt about it. You know, that whole experience. I went to the UK the next year, and then
Cool.
another moment correlated with travel. Actually, I was in college. I was playing softball, and I was on student senate to like make money to pay for school and like grow my leadership. And I got a letter from that same organization to travel again. And now I was a young adult, right? And there was this narrative around my classmates of like, oh, I'm so excited once I graduate to start traveling the world. That was kind of what we talk about, like after school, this is the life we'll live. But getting that letter again, it was this like divine intervention in a way of like, oh, I'm an adult now. I have the autonomy to make my own decision of, do I want to go on another trip? And what would it look like if I now earned the money to go do that? Yeah. Well, long story short, I didn't actually end up going on that trip because it was still a lot more than a broke college kid, playing a sport and like studying and working kind of part-time could do. But it got me to think of, well, what would it look like if I didn't wait? Yeah. Like that question was so good of, instead of yes or no, it was like, how could I make this happen? What would it look like if I did this sooner? And I believe when we ask questions, that is an undertone, I would say, Lisa, of everything I look at is like, I just started asking myself different questions. Yeah. And therefore, I had different answers in my life. Like we are living the answer of the questions that we've asked ourselves. And so that it opened up, and long story short, my brother, who's a big traveler as well, we joke, okay, we're brother and sister. It's like I started traveling first, okay? So even though I was younger, but he's been to way more, 3 times the countries I have. Like he's been to over 100. So I'm working to catch up. But anyways, he had an opportunity to go to Peru and see Machu Picchu. It was a 10-day trip, and it was like a couple grand. I was like, I could swing a couple grand, like, again, college kid. And so I saved up the money and I went with him and his now wife. And it was, again, I was so alive. And Lisa, to that point, it actually took me a long time at least into my 20s, and still to this day I have to work on it, to learn the lesson that I will feel insecure. And, if I'm continually thinking about me, that I did try and pursue my own glory. Man, I want to hear my name. I want recognition. I want to make money about me. Even though that's never been my heart, I think I got kind of confused of like, well, what does this look like? And I had an amazing mentor, another moment that, him and his wife, by their example, it was always about other people. They're multimillionaires, been married 30 years, have all the, worldly success that you could say. But every time I sat down with them, I felt like the most important person in the room. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like, you guys are really cool, And so they really marked my life. For me to like mentally get it, was like, oh, they're making it about me, not about them. And so that realization came later on. But anyways, all that to be said, so many moments are around travel and that kind of shaking up the routine to ask different questions. So I'll leave it at that, but it's great thoughts.
I love it. It's so true. No, it's so true. We were talking a little bit before we hit record, and traveling to me is just, it's so impactful in being able to get another perspective of another world, another culture, other people, another country. One, it can make you feel really blessed for what we have here. 2, it can help you to see things through other people's eyes and give you the perspective, like you said, Ken, to give you the perspective of other people and not constantly focusing on yourself. Now, World Changers, right? Love this. Isn't just a business, it's a movement. Yes. So what problem were you actually trying to solve when you created it?
Oh man, great question. So a little bit of context too to help answer that question. Yeah. So I built a direct sales business for almost 10 years. And there's a lot to that story, or that part of my journey. But we had a voicemail system, and I was growing a team, right? So I had a team that fortunately was actually spanning the country. I had visions of having partners around the world, which is kind of crazy because of what's happening now. But on that voicemail system, I would most of the time start my messages to my team with, hello, beautiful world changers. And I didn't consciously think of why. I think I desperately wanted to be beautiful and I wanted to make a change in the world, right? And so I've studied John Maxwell a lot, gone to his conferences, love his stuff. And he always talks about seeing people as a 10 out of 10 of potential on their forehead kind of thing. So, but anyways, I'd sent out this message to my team, and it was years into doing this that I came across a gal that had left the organization, and I have stayed friends with pretty much everybody. That's just who I am. I'm like, if we're in business, like, we're also friends. That's just how it's going to be. She's one of the most positive people could ever meet. She's like you. You're like, oh my gosh, no one could ever, you're just amazing, Great attitude, amazing spirit, just adds so much value to your life. And I had a conversation with her, and she was like, I miss being called a world changer. And there was a sparkle in her eyes that this very positive person, I had never seen that sparkle before. Yeah. And it just clicked with me. I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't just my dream to be a world changer and to be beautiful as a woman. Rather, it's likely most people's dream, if not everyone. And so I started to think of like, man, okay, when I see people, I just love people. I just love people. I do. And I'm kind of more ambivert. I'm somewhat introverted, somewhat extroverted. But as time went on, how World Changers came to be, it was like the problem that I want to solve is to help people see themselves that way. Right? That they have a world. I believe that everyone has a world changer within them. Yeah. Not everyone awakens it. Yeah. That world is contextual. It may not be the 8 billion people on it. It might just be the people in their own home. Yeah. But I learned, again, to the problem we have to solve is first we have to look in the mirror. That is the first line of our mission statement, is to own the mirror, the good and the bad. Own the mirror. I have to change me before I could ever transform me, before I could ever be an example and help other people also transform. Yeah. And so to me, it's a both and scenario. It's a tension to manage of how can I change myself? And the change may not always be a bad thing. It might be, how can I change in the sense I give myself more credit for me being actually kind of cool?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yes.
You're so weak and you suck, right? It could be, no. And I have this value to add, and I got to give I'm pretty cool, And that's the way I got to go on. And
I love that. And you're helping so many people, find themselves. Yeah. So you've embraced, along with this World Changers program, tell me, I want to know what happens, because you've embraced the nomadic lifestyle while leading globally. So how has the movement, physical movement, changed the way you see leadership? And when you get there, what are you doing? How are you, taking that and helping the world?
Yes, great question. So a couple layers to that answer is World Changers is a multifaceted organization, right? Okay. There's a lot that we do. I'm a multi-passionate human, so therefore
yes, you are.
And again, I started the foundation of all this, of founding it, is I asked myself different questions. Questions like, how can I serve other people and also live my own dream lifestyle? How can I reach peak performance and have fullness of life? How can I build something that serves my needs but yet isn't about me? Yeah. So a lot of what I do now is stemmed from those questions. And it was a lot of heartache, right? A turning point, a lot of loss that kind of allowed me to come back and say, all right, McKensie, let's go back to the drawing board of why I'm doing what I'm doing. So there's 5 pillars of World Changers. This will help kind of answer what we do and why I'm doing.
Yeah, good. Tell us.
First and foremost, we are a global community. We are a growing global community. And that community is meant to connect people. First and foremost, genuinely connect. There's different religions, there's different politics, there's different languages, there's so much differences in our world. And to me, what bothers me is I think we've gotten too focused on those differences. Of, this is how we're different, this is what divides us, right? And quick to judge, whatever it might be. Versus for me and just how I am, I'm like, I think that's what makes us beautiful. If we're all the same, it's kind of boring, Yeah. But rather, I want to create a space where regardless of these differences, how can we find common ground and connect on the things that make us all human? We all laugh in the same language. We all cry in the same language. right? We all really kind of want the same things. You know, we need to be a part of the community. We want purpose and meaning. We want health, right? We want to provide for our families. So to me, that community is coming together and saying, where can we focus and how can we lovingly agree to disagree? We don't have to believe the same things to still have love for one another and to act in love. So to me, that's the heart of the community. Secondly, is personal growth and leadership development. I see those kind of one and the same of like, I'm growing me, like owning the mirror so that I can lead other people. And that leadership might be a parent with their child. It might be a teacher at school. You know, it doesn't have to be you don't have to have a leadership title to be a leader. Third is health. I have a health background. So became a personal trainer in my late teens, early 20s. And then got into nutrition. Like I was a kid too, another kind of point right as a kid. I would read nutrition books as a teenager. Like I've just always, I remember doing Jillian Michaels as well, like fitness, nutrition, health, growing up at home, right? The home videos, in addition to being an athlete. So it's always been a passion interest of mine. So I've learned like we can only make a change out there and sustain that change if our bodies can handle it, right? Like we can't, and I've done this on both sides, right? I've been guilty of everything, like compromise my own health to be able to do that. So health is another one, travel is the fourth pillar, and then impact is the fifth. So how can we make it, again, not about us? So to answer all that, all of our programs hit at least a couple of those pillars, and one of our programs hits all five. And so the impact piece, that's actually a huge driver of why I became a nomad. Is another place I'd been in my early 20s. I went to Kenya and I spent a month there and I was so deeply impacted. Like it was my child soldier's dream, like trying to come to life. You know, I even had a GoPro, Lisa, at the time. This is when Ebola was a thing. And I remember like filming, you know, because they would like screen you for Ebola. Everyone back home was like, you're in Africa, that's wild. I'm like, I'm on the other side of the continent of where it's at. It's fine. But I remember trying to capture and like bring that experience home to people. So they could see and feel at least a little bit of what I saw and felt. But anyway, so now I stayed there. I ended up giving to this organization every month for 5 and actually maybe even 6 years, somewhere around there. To come to find from the gal that I actually lived with, like say, stayed with a family, that the guy at the organization was taking the money. It was never going where I thought it was going. Now, I wasn't actually bummed about the money. I mean, I was still young 20s. It wasn't a crazy amount, you know, it started $50, $100, a couple $100. But like, it was like, what? Like, I was there. I went and served, you know, that just blew my mind and broke my heart for the people. So I just have it so heavy on my heart to establish authentic, integrous relationships with organizations that need help and create an opportunity to give to them financially, resource-wise, as one aspect of it. 2, to take people there so they can experience that. Volunteering's a component of our retreats. And then 3rd, create opportunities for people beyond the money. So to connect people within these organizations with other people in our network, right? That goes beyond just resources, but rather invests in people at the same time. So anyways, there's a lot to it, but hopefully that.
Well, if people want to find you and learn more, where would they do that?
Yes, great question. So worldchangers.me is our like label on our social media. So you can go to worldchangers.me. That's our website. Worldchangers.me on Instagram. We have a Facebook and LinkedIn group, worldchangers.me. Disclaimer, I'm still somewhat new to social media. So me and my team are working we're working constantly on building up that presence more. Okay.
Love that.
Especially our groups. That's kind of one of the main focuses for 2026. It's always free, connect people. Me personally, they can find, in the podcast that's coming out next week, Nomad CEO, Nomad_CEO on Instagram, and then McKensie Stanton on LinkedIn or Facebook. So yeah, that's what
Plenty of spaces to find you and message you and get more information.
Correct.
Love that. So let's bring it to this now. What's the current drawer, we like to call it here on the sock drawer, that you're in that's refining, releasing, or rebuilding, right? What are you being asked to unlearn right now? So
good. Oh my gosh. so much, quite frankly. It's the continual thing. I think, I'm coming on the other side of this.
Yeah.
And it's been a chip away process. I would like to think with all the personal growth and things I've done that I would have bounced back a little bit faster, like full swing. I bounced back right away. Like I do have decent resilience.
Yeah.
But I think because it's just kind of been the burden that I've bared in my life. And I'm not unique. This is a lot of people, if not most, with who I've worked with as well. But just my own self-image. Just like I worked really hard to fall in love with me as a person. And I would say my mid to late 20s was when I started to genuinely feel that way. And not an ego, but just like, I'm not a horrible person, but went through a relationship, big life transitions, a lot of like financial insecurity and location and just all this stuff. But it was like, I just stopped giving myself credit or rather like leaning on like, okay, I know I got this. I know I'll land on my own 2 feet.
Yeah.
But I realized in my speaking or I had opportunity to start speaking on stages again because I'd done that a lot in my past, that I wasn't as confident showing up. Yeah. Right. And I just had to go back to the drawing board and remind myself of my own identity and my own self-worth. And
it's good.
And,
so
and I think part of what was delaying that kind of come back to this groove transition was there's just a lot up in the air in my life, like founding, an organization that the vision is so big, so much bigger and beyond me. I'm a leader. I work with leaders. And yet I'm not the guru. Like I am the facilitator of this and I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
Right. Especially going into different cultures. I'm not coming in and be like, hey, I know it all and I'm going to change your world. That's not the heart of it. It's like, no, you have a world changer in you. What do you believe will change the world? Yeah. Let me learn from you. Let's find that common ground and continue to grow together. That's very much so my heart. Mm-hmm. But I would say the sock drawer is just like continuing to, I'll say this, the phrase peaceful productivity has been ringing in my ears, especially these last few days.
Yeah.
Of like, I don't need to produce to perform, right? Or necessarily with pressure, even though there's always a lot to do.
Yeah.
It's coming from a place of peace and purpose, right? Yeah. So that's what I would say.
Love it. That's a great answer. So listen, I told you before we hit record, every time in Sock Drawer, we do this 60-second drawer dash, right? These are quick, instinctive answers, no overthinking. Okay. I'm just going to throw them at you and you're going to answer the first thing that comes. Get ready. Yes, I love it. Okay. Yeah, stretch it out. You got this. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Morning routine or move first, then think?
Move first.
One habit you'll never give up?
Reading the Bible.
A book that shifted how you lead?
Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins.
I love that. By who?
Tony Robbins.
Okay. Something people misunderstand about you?
I'll just say the first thing of me starting World Changers is I think some people think that it's like an ego thing. It's really not.
Okay. I love that. City that surprised you?
Ella, Sri Lanka.
What grounds you when everything feels loud?
Prayer.
Coffee, tea, or neither?
Still coffee.
Yes, that's my girl. I love it. Me too, sister. I mean, all day if I could, if my health wouldn't, fall apart. So we always end with a tiny dare where I ask my guest, what's one small brave step someone listening today could take if they're feeling misaligned or unsure of what's next? What would you recommend?
Great question. Book a trip.
Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah. Just do it.
Yes.
And
you won't be sorry.
No, you won't. You're going to meet a version of yourself that you are desperately seeking. I would dare you to try it. And it doesn't have to be a lavish trip. No one has to, well, depending on the context of the person, if you have a family, like let them know, but people don't have to know where you're going. You don't have to post about it on social media. You can, but like do it for you. Do it for your own soul. I mean, when was the last time you've done that?
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be far. It could be domestic if they're in the US. Doesn't have to be fancy, but just book.
I was going to say, just, I mean, you could literally just go to the beach for a couple hours it's a couple hours away, go maybe wherever, I don't know, just someplace that gets you away and book it and take the time, whether it's by yourself or to experience the atmosphere and the culture and the environment. You know, I appreciate that. McKensie, thank you truly for bringing honesty, depth, and thoughtfulness to this conversation. You are truly a world changer. And your work, it reminds us that leadership isn't about holding it all together. It's about knowing when to kind of take a step back and realign. And for those listening, you'll find McKensie and her work, first of all over the world, but also linked in the show notes. And she gave you some information earlier. So follow her, find her, reach out to her. She'll be happy to answer any questions. And if this episode stirred something in you, sit with that. You don't need to have all the answers today. Just the willingness to notice what no longer fits. I'm Lisa Begley. This is the Sock Drawer Podcast. Until next time, stay brave and take that one brave step. We'll see you soon. All right, Sock Drawer family, that's a wrap on today's Drawer Dump. Big thanks to our guests for sharing their story and their heart with us. Until next time. Don't forget, life's too short for mismatched socks. Retire the ones with holes, inspire the ones that still shine. See you soon.